I do want to mention skill-based matchmaking since I briefly brought it up. A lot of people are talking about it for good reason. It is harsh.
I mean, it just doesn't make sense. We're literally in pred lobbies. Like, there's no way this is how ranked is supposed to be.
If you have one good game, I hope you're ready to get to the esports challenger circuit here, because your next game is going to have the sweatiest, striving pros you have ever played against.
There shouldn't be a hidden MMR inside of ranked. What the f is the point of ranked if there's a hidden MMR?
Can I be completely honest with you guys? If SBMM wasn't a thing, I would stream multiplayer. SBMM, I've said this before and I'll say it again, man. SBMM is I dare say, killing video games.
It's like skill-based matchmaking in public games. Why the f would you have skill-based in a public game?
Like, God forbid you have one game where you pop off, the next game, you are getting slapped. You are getting put into timeout, mister, and you're going to be wearing the dunce cap because skill-based matchmaking doesn't want to see you thrive, soldier.
Skill-based matchmaking. Kind of makes you want to break your controller, but not really because the cost of living kind of sucks. I hate skill-based matchmaking with a passion, or at least I used to. I mean, I still do, but kinda not. You see, I went away and did some self-reflection of what skill-based matchmaking actually means, and I started wondering if it's actually a necessary feature. The emotional lizard part of my brain said no, skill-based matchmaking can rot and die, especially after playing 1 hour of Halo Infinite. I mean, these pictures kind of speak for themselves. Skill-based matchmaking makes your life a living hell if you're even half decent at the game. However, the calm, rational part of my brain still wants it to rot and die, but I do understand the benefits of having it, or the benefit. This might surprise people, but playing a game where you're absolutely stomping people, it's not really that fun, or at least to me, might be to some people. This is where the benefits of skill-based matchmaking can come in, but not the way it currently is. So let's go over what skill-based matchmaking actually means. Now, it's a system used in video games to match players of similar skill levels in multiplayer matches. Now, this concept has evolved a lot over the years. The idea of skill-based matchmaking is nothing new. Think of traditional sports. Grades, division, tournaments, seedings. These all exist to kind of, in a way, balance out the playing field. It helps split up competitors to where they should belong regarding their skill. And it does this to avoid unfair matches. Imagine a MMA tournament where there's no rankings or divisions, no amateur league, and you're going into your first match, you're excited, and then you walk in the cage and you realize that your first opponent is John Jones, or worse, Tom Aspinall. Now, that's a joke that's either going to age like wine or milk. It's a good thing I enjoy both. Talking about traditional sports is helping to give some context to what I'm going to expand upon. I'm not referring to the in-your-face rank, where it is obvious to everyone, but rather the in-the-background algorithms that are in place to split up players. That's what I'm going to be talking about. Now, the genesis of skill-based matchmaking can actually be traced back to chess, with the Elo Rating System. It was developed by a guy called Arpad Elo. Now, Arpad, he was a Hungarian-American physics professor and chess master. He was a prominent figure in the chess community. Now, he came in and developed his Elo Rating System. Now, before this, chess used Harkness system, apparently had several inaccuracies. Now, this system that he developed, it was quickly adopted by the USCF, the United States Chess Federation, and later by the World Chess Federation. So they obviously saw a lot of potential in it and liked the system, so they adopted it. It's this system that got later developed and evolved for video gaming. This is where you see games like League of Legends, Valorant. I don't know if it's referencing Counter-Strike. It's kind of used loosely in Halo, like, what's your Elo? That's what this relates to. So how did this transfer to video games? Well, the idea of skill-based matchmaking became publicly popular when it appeared in a 2008 interview with game designer John Carmack, who emphasized the importance in Quake Live, a game that came out in 2010. Now, this game asked players for their skill level and adjusted matchmaking based on their performance. Now, while it was mentioned in that 2008 article, what was actually the first video game to use skill-based matchmaking? A lot of people actually point to the 2007 release of Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare as the first video game to implement skill-based matchmaking. While I like to push that narrative, it's not exactly true. The very first known game to implement a form of skill-based matchmaking was actually Halo 2 in 2004. Now, during its beta phase, Halo 2 used a ranking system that evolved into True Skill. This was developed by Microsoft. It aimed to measure a player's skill level with a probabilistic model that accounted for skill rating, the mean, and uncertainty, the sigma. It's a sigma system. Such a dumb joke. The mean would estimate a player's actual skill, and the sigma would measure how confident the system is in the player's skill rating. After each match, the system would adjust these values based on their match results and the skill of the opponents and teammates. Basically, winning against stronger opponents increased your rating more than beating weaker ones, and losing to weaker opponents decreased your rating significantly. Now, the earliest reference I can find of this skill-based matchmaking system is actually on this Microsoft research page. It's True Skill, a Bayesian skill rating system. This article, True Skill, a Bayesian skill rating system, there's a lot of math and formulas in this. It sounds interesting, goes a bit over my head, but if you're interested, I guess I'll leave the link in the description. But basically, this system allowed for precise matching where teams were ideally balanced in terms of skill, ensuring competitive and fair matches. Anecdotally, I feel as though the criteria back then, it was a lot looser than what it is right now, so I don't feel like it impacted matches heaps, but it was in place, so technically it did have a form of skill-based matchmaking in it. Damn it, Microsoft, what did you release on the world? Now, while True Skill was initially limited to Halo 2 and Xbox Live games, systems went out and now they're being used in games like Call of Duty, Fortnite, Apex Legends, Valorant. I would say basically any competitive game out there has some form of skill-based matchmaking systems, algorithms in place. The systems early on were actually they were simple in a way, but now they're taking in multiple factors to measure a player's actual skill. Some of this is pretty simple figures such as accuracy, kills, deaths, assists, and it can also take recent performance trends. So if a player is improving, great. If they seem to be struggling, it can take that into account as well. Now, these make logical sense. They're easy figures to read, and I can completely see how you can make a calculations based off that. These next ones I'm going to talk about I didn't realize how deep this went. They're quite invasive and, to be honest, kind of scary. These systems can take in behavioral factors like your playstyle. So if you're more aggressive or if you like to stick back, it can take that into account. And it can also use machine learning to predict players' performance and fine-tune matchups more dynamically. Those are kind of nuts. I think it's one thing to analyze stats you can read, but another way to just kind of see how someone's playing. It's kind of like reading their personality. Get your tinfoil hats, gamers. Beyond this, it gets even more invasive. These systems can tilt matchmaking to ensure players win often enough to stay motivated. And if you're on a bit of a losing streak, you'll be matched with weaker opponents to regain some confidence. That's kind of gross, but it is what it is. It's kind of interesting how deep this rabbit hole goes. Let's go over the positives of skill-based matchmaking systems, or the positive. The overarching point of skill-based matchmaking is to give fair and balanced games. Now, as much as I don't like skill-based matchmaking, I can sit back and see the benefit of that. I can see how that can be helpful for new players coming into a game. Like, you don't want to be getting into a game and just getting stomped every time. You know, now that I say it out loud, when I used to get in games back in Halo or Call of Duty Modern Warfare, like, I was bad, but when I would get stomped, maybe sometimes I cried about it, but more times than not, I would look at the player who was doing really well and be like, that guy's really good. I wonder if we could be friends. And then I would send him a friend request, which would never get accepted. So, I don't know. Maybe I'm just built different. If you have a way of balancing out games, it can be more inclusive for new players. It can help with it can reduce frustration, keep them engaged, and I can see how it can be a big benefit for objective-based game modes like, say, Overwatch. You want a fair and balanced team there because otherwise, like, Overwatch is a game where it's extremely hard to just go out and play by yourself and stomp the other team. You need other players backing you up, and while I've never played it, I think it's the same thing with, like, League of Legends. Now that we've discussed the positive, let's go over the negatives of skill-based matchmaking. A big one for me, and this is really bad in Halo Infinite, and I've heard it's really bad in Call of Duty titles. It just seems like every single casual game is just a sweat fest. Like, the criteria of matching you up with other players is so tight, it gives you no room to breathe. Like, I feel extreme burnout. Like, for example, I consider myself quite decent at Halo, but if I don't play for a month, let's just say I go away and come back, Is an algorithm going to figure that out? I mean, maybe it does, but I come back, it's expecting me to play to a certain level, and maybe I just want to sit back and relax. I don't want to have to come in to a social playlist and expect to be sweating my ass off just to win or to keep up. I mean, the scores I put up before, like I didn't win all those games, but you have to play to a certain level to get close. And I feel bad for my teammates, to be honest, because they're brought up to help balance with my skill level, and they're having a rough game. This leads into another negative of skill-based matchmaking systems where people go out and smurf. Now, there's multiple reasons. Maybe they want to get clips, they want to appear better than what they are, or they just experience extreme burnout and you want to have a relaxed game. What players will do is to create a new account and then play games. So the algorithms have no idea how you play. And naturally, that matches you up against players that aren't as good as you, more times than not. In fact, I think most cases. Another negative, lobby dodging. So if you see you're coming up against good players, you just leave because you want to break, or people they want to win and they know, oh my god, it's weeknight, he's going to destroy me. I'm going to lose my level, man. I don't know if anyone's actually said that, but I'm sure, so maybe someone has. Another big problem with skill-based matchmaking, especially in Halo Infinite, is the extreme wait times. Now, Halo Infinite at the moment doesn't have the biggest population, and when you are I don't know exactly where I'm placed, but I wouldn't be surprised if I'm in the top 1% of Halo Infinite. Like, I don't know, I've put stupid amount of hours into it. It's not a brag, but what that means is it's going to try and match me up against players that are close to that level. Now, if there's no one online, or that playlist doesn't have enough players in it close to that level, it doesn't expand the search, it just keeps searching. So you just don't find games. So you're just sitting there like in a lobby simulator, like, expand that out for like 20 minutes and then you get frustrated and you leave, you go play something else. Like, skill-based matchmaking is linked to, and I have no evidence, well, not evidence, I have no reports backing me up, but it impacts population. Like, you just end up leaving, you go play something else. I think a big negative of skill-based matchmaking systems as well is just the lack of transparency for how they actually work. It would be nice if Microsoft, Halo Studios, Activision, whoever, maybe released an article going over exactly how it works. I guess I can understand why they don't, but it would be nice. Maybe if they released it, people would realize how invasive these systems are and it would be a little bit unethical, but I don't know. The overall impact, I think, of skill-based matchmaking is that there seems to be this blend between casual and competitive playlists where every game feels competitive and where you need to play a certain way to either win or keep up. That's a big problem. No time for fun. A case study which I actually really like on how to properly implement a skill-based matchmaking system is what they've done in xDefiant. What they've done, so there's this welcome playlist in xDefiant which does have skill-based matchmaking turned on, and you play this, I think it's up to level 25, so you get matched up against people who are close to you, you learn the game, the ropes, and as soon as you get past level 25, I think it's 25, don't quote me on that, it opens up casual and competitive. The casual playlist in xDefiant has no skill-based matchmaking in it, so it will just build a lobby based on players it can find through ping, location. It'll focus on that and not skill levels. Now, you do have a skill number associated with your profile of how good you are, but what it does is it will populate the lobby, not based on skill-based matchmaking, but then split the lobby up into two teams which it thinks is fair, which I think is fine. I think that's a good system. It's kind of like two captains picking teams, you know, of who they think is good back in school, and then you're there last because you're the fat kid, like, all right, you can come over here, Jimmy, go be the goalie. It does have skill-based matchmaking turned on for a ranked playlist. I'm going to expand on that now. I suppose, what are my overall thoughts of skill-based matchmaking and how we should use it, how should we implement it? Let's start off with a really easy one to talk about. Skill-based matchmaking and ranked playlist. I don't think it should exist at all. I don't think skill-based matchmaking systems algorithms should be in a ranked playlist because you have a rank. That is the skill-based matchmaking system right there. You don't need that and another hidden algorithm in the background matching you up against other players. It doesn't make any sense. Probably my favorite ranking system. I'm going to be biased, but it's the 1 to 50 system that they used to use in Halo. Naturally, everyone's going to start at 1. Some players are going to get stomped. Some players are going to have really easy games, but that's the point. Over time, this will balance out naturally, and the really good players are going to be up at level 50, and the really bad players are going to be lower down towards the level 1 area. Think of like a standard deviation curve. People are going to get spread out, most people are going to be in the middle, and this will happen naturally based on your visible number. That's all you need. Yeah, sure, you're always going to have people that are going to boost, smurf. That's going to happen no matter what, but I don't think you need skill-based matchmaking systems in ranked playlists. Period. I think that one's easy. I don't think anyone can really argue that. Doesn't make much sense. Which now brings me on to casual playlists. This one's a little bit harder, I think. I think some sort of system should exist in casual playlists. If you don't, it can be exploited of, say, teams of 4 running a casual playlist in a 4v4 mode where other people are going in there to just have a good time. So maybe the algorithm at the very least should split up teams, I think, and maybe really loose parameters, because if they're too tight, every game becomes sweaty and the wait times become horrendous. I think xDefiant's method is actually pretty good. I'm sure you can improve on it, but I think that's a very good system that other games should implement. Casual playlists, just search, build lobbies as quickly as possible based off ping location, and then from there, balance out the teams as good as possible. I think for large game modes from, 6v6 plus, I think that works really well. I suppose when you start getting down into the 4v4 players, it could be a little bit harder. You might get someone coming in with an elo of, let's just say 1600, and then 5 other players, seven other players that would have, an elo of 500. Like, I can see how that could be a problem, but there's ways around that. Like, there's people out there that are a lot smarter than me, getting paid a lot more. I'm just some guy talking on the internet. And I think from that, there just should be more transparency from developers. They should just come out and say, hey, this is exactly how my system works. Here's how to understand it. I think that's fine, but that's just me. I suppose to summarize everything, do I think that skill-based matchmaking systems are killing the gaming landscape? I think in a way, yes, they are. I think the systems that are in play right now are just too tight. I think they need to be loosened up. Like, we're here to have fun. We're not here to sweat every single game. And I think if you have gone and put in the hours to be good at something, it doesn't really give you the right to stomp on people, but you shouldn't be punished for that, if you know what I mean. I think other developers could take a leaf out of xDefiant's book, maybe try and find better ways of doing it, improving on it. Take it out completely of ranked playlists. You don't need it for anything, I don't think. You should just be matched up based on your visible level. If you got boosted up to that level, guess what? You're going to have a miserable time. You didn't earn it, but you've got the rank, so nice one, buddy. I suppose that's it. Just a quick rant on skill-based matchmaking. I see it's talked a lot with the Black Ops 6 that's come out. It's pretty fun, but yes, every game is pretty sweaty. That's about it. To everyone else, enjoy your day. God, I could rant about that for an hour if you put me to it.